Hey guys, how you going? This is Sam Loy and Michael Webb, and we're here with you on the Legacy Saturday? Legacy Saturday General Games.
Nice sunny Legacy Saturday. So
Very sunny day.
obviously we're avoiding it. We're staying inside.
Yeah, stay away from that sun.
I
Be sun safe.
don't want to ruin my LCD tan for the summer. It's really not a good thing to get rid of.
Yeah, it's a bit of work.
Yeah, look, it's months and months of hard work that's gone into this. So yeah, we're going straight to round 2 here, I believe.
Yeah, jumping in on round 2. What's the field looking like?
A disgusting amount of mono red.
So we've got a lot of the Blood Moon deck.
Yeah, like this is the horrible Blood Moon stompy piles that I find really frustrating to play against. It like it's sometimes fun to play. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there's a bit of griefing going on.
And yeah, well, what else have we got? I got told there's like 40% check pile in the room too, which I don't know, like feels roughly the right amount given my experiences on Moto lately, but cool. So
all right, so we're jumping into this game, and we've got Stephen Tang on your left, and he's on blue, white, red Stoneblade, and we've got Stephen Stamopoulos on your right. And what's he playing? Just Delver?
Team Australia Delver. So basically, it's just kind of Grixis Colours Big Rug.
Big Rug
is the easiest way to describe it. So stifles and lots of trying to get cheap interaction and trying to get uninteractive creatures, but he's using kind of Tombstalkers and some of the bigger threats instead of a Nimble Mongoose, basically.
Sure, to go big. Cool. So, well, I think that's a pretty good start from Stamopoulos here. Turn 1, flipping the Delver.
Yeah, and straight into a Ponder as well. So
here we have a reaction, and it's getting Flusterstormed.
That's aggressive.
I think that's we have a read from Tang there on whether or not Stamopoulos has his second land drop to make.
Yeah,
and he's called it correctly as well. So he's taking him off his land drop. So
he has. I guess it's going to work out for him at this rate. This is maybe Steve has to now fire off that brainstorm.
We see on the hand cam there. So whether or not he's left the mana up, so he's stranded that True Name Nemesis in hand. He's obviously got some disruption as well, though. So it's not like he's just dead here, you know.
Yeah, look, he's looking okay.
And we have the Engineered Explosive for 1 there. I don't know if anyone remembers the relatively recent rule change, so that Delver Secrets is actually converted mana cost 1 while it's flipped rather than 0 like it used to be.
Yeah, so I actually completely forgot that it used to be 0.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, like it's fairly recent, right? What, like couple of months ago? Anyway, not a huge amount of time.
I think they did change it a while, like maybe even a year ago. It's been a while since I played. So we have Tang here making his land drops. Unfortunately for him, though, it does kind of look like he's getting a little bit flooded here. Like he's unwilling to make a move.
And I think Steve is going to stifle that? I feel like stifling that would be correct right now.
Yeah, here's a stifle. It's a good use of his mana.
And he's going to have a day's backup in case Tang wants to cast Counterspell as well, I think. So
So I think we're looking at getting into a minor counter war here. Just over this Delver.
I probably should have paid more attention to what was in Tang's hand. Did he have a counterspell there?
I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to see.
Like
he wasn't being too generous with the hand cam there, but
here we go.
Yeah, here's the counterspell, Daze, and then Snap. Well, no, Force of Will pitching his Snapcaster. So that's our first counter war.
Okay, and Tang's now looking pretty good.
He's disrupted it. He just needs a way to pull ahead at the moment.
Steve's used his land drop for turn, has he?
Steve's going, because he's picked up the Underground Sea with the Daze there, he can make his land drop this turn, which is pretty good for him. Steve Tang put a lot of cards into that interaction there, so he does have a Caracas and a Stoneforge Mystic there. So hopefully this will allow him to pull ahead, because he really needs to get on board and get ahead with cards somehow. Yeah,
this is going to be a tough one, however.
Yeah. So, okay, so, like, basically...
Because he's got his Batterskull now up.
Yeah, so he's got the Batterskull. Obviously, the Stoneforge Mystic has to wait turn to put into play, and Stamopoulos has come back with the Delver of Secrets. It looks like Tang is mostly out of disruption there. He's got a land in hand, so he's hoping to draw something to disrupt that Delver of Secrets. But at the moment, Tang is definitely going over the top on board, but despite that, he is on quite a low life total. So we're gonna have to see.
I mean, the Batterskull, when it comes down, is going to help him stabilize, and I'm not sure Steve has a way to deal with a Batterskull particularly easily. He's going to get to crack in for 3, take Tang down to 5, but from there on, every swing of the batter skull is just going to put him.
Yeah. So we've got dealing 3, gaining 4. So he's actually going to go up 1 every turn at the same time that Stamopoulos' life total is, going down consistently.
And the problem is, I don't know if I guess Steve might have a couple of fatal pushes in his list. I haven't checked the most recent version. Okay, so he's got 2 pushes, so he's got to find a push now.
He's got to find a push, but unfortunately for him, there's not too much that's going to go over the top of this Batter Skull in his deck list, aside from maybe a Tombstalker if you can find a second Black Source and find a Tombstalker. It's kind of one of these battles that you get into sometimes where they're both enacting their strategies. One person is going over the top on board, but the other one's got some gas left.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see whether Stamopoulos can draw that disruption, and whether or not he can find a Tombstalker to take control of the board.
So as I was saying before, I don't know if he needs the Tombstalker. He's aggressively hunting there for the fatal push to take care of the germ token. So if he takes care of the germ token, it's not necessarily GG's. Obviously, he can still bounce the Batter Skull, but it's very mannering. Okay, he's going to pull up this.
Here's a Jason Mind Sculptor.
Yeah.
This might lock it away here.
I think this is good. I think this is game over.
Okay, yeah, it's entered the battlefield. Delver Secret's back to hand.
Yeah,
so there's the clock gone, basically. I mean, that's a True Name Nemesis is good here as well, actually. We did miss that. That's going to be able to block the Batter Skull every turn.
Yeah, it is, but it's just not really going to be able to do anything else. And Tang's
it's going to buy some time at least.
It's going to buy some time, but Tang's going to pull ahead on cards pretty easily, I think.
Yeah.
Which is going to be...
Jace plus Shuffle Effect on board is a very good place to be as far as cards are concerned. So,
I mean, just active Jace. It's that card's brutal.
Yeah, here we have him. We have Tang drawing a Swords to Plowshares. So, and if we're going to find a big threat from Steven, and here we have the Shuffle Effect shuffling his dead cards away, then it's still going to be a lot to get back into the game at this point.
Yeah.
You'd say Jace's kind of game at this point, right?
Look, it's possible. I think. Yeah, I would call this just about game. Unfortunately, it's going to take a little while, and obviously Steve's probably not going to give up quite that easy, as he shouldn't.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's definitely looking really, really grim for him.
So we have the Stoneblade with Jace on lock. Obviously, every time you resolve a 4-mana spell on Legacy, you should be winning the game with it. Really, like if you're going to play a 4-mana card, you want it to be doing a lot of work.
Yeah, it needs to pull you ahead fairly quickly. Jace is probably look. We all know Jace is probably the best Planeswalker ever released, right? So managing to land that's definitely it's.
Yeah, it's not too bad. So you've seen these guys play with these decks a few times?
I have, yep. So, Stephen Tang there on the left has he used to be a Miracles player, and he's been kind of bouncing between a few different options since the top ban. So he's been trying Topless Miracles and trying... okay.
All right, so we have a big turn there. So the Jace is gone. He's found the Fatal Push. Unfortunately for Stamopoulos, the interaction between Stoneforge Mystic and Batterskull does mean that he will get to reset it every turn with 5 mana.
Yeah, and it's not... it's going to be
not
tough.
Necessarily a problem, but it's still a lot of work. That is going to do some work towards recovering his board position here, though.
I mean, the thing with the Stoneblade decks is they're really good at making land drops. They'll just make land drops and they make land drops. So the mana thing probably will be... Look, it's fairly easy for him to keep cycling that. So I think Steve needs to get the Stoneforge off the board somehow.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that...
Does Steve have a Stifle? Yes, he does. So he's got to decide whether or not to stifle that or stifle
the incoming trigger.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for him, either way, for Tang, he goes up a card either way. So he draws some mana out of that with that stifle, but he does get to gain a card there.
He's also just drawn a Council's Judgment.
Absolutely fantastic way of answering True Name.
Yeah, and I think that's what he was hunting for before. So you saw him cycle like a Jace and then a Brainstorm, and then used a Ponder to shuffle everything away. And it's a bit greedy normally to just cycle away just use a Ponder to get a shuffle effect, but he wanted that.
Wanted the Council's Judgment.
Yeah.
He knows that normally you're not going to play too many True Name Nemesis in a deck. It's normally 2 to 3, just because it's a 3-mana card.
Yeah, probably 2 tops typically.
Yep. Okay, so we have a Lightning Bolt for the Stoneforge. And
a Stifle.
A Stifle for the trigger for the incoming Battle Skull.
I mean, the problem is now Tang can actually just hardcast that.
He can hardcast that, yeah.
And I don't know if it's...
It's going to get Spell Pierced if he does, which is interesting. So
he just ripped the Stoneforge, though.
Okay, well.
Yeah. So, look, this is...
Hey, this is why you play a deck where your 2-mana threat is also a card advantage engine.
I mean, also, like, why you play a deck that's basically just bombs, right?
Just bombs, mono bombs.
With, you know, like, obviously your blue filtering just to make sure that everything sticks together nicely. But, I mean, look, Stoneforge can look clunky, but it is a monster of a card.
Here's another Lightning Bolt for that. So Stemopolis is sitting here with a couple of Spell Piercers, a Delver, and a Tombstalker in hand. So it's not like he doesn't have a way to win the game.
Yeah.
But he's also going to struggle to get through just the sheer amount of cards and bombs that are in Tang's hand at this point. We'll have to see whether or not he can draw enough disruption and enough live cards to make that Tombstalker something that's going to do enough work. Unfortunately for him, there's going to be an answer in Tang's hand when it does resolve. So hopefully he can draw it out with this Delver of Secrets and manage to pull ahead with the 5/5.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's... Oh, there we go. Sorry. Delver's now... Yeah.
So here comes... Yeah, Swords to Plowshares.
Swords to Plowshares, I imagine. Has
That's some of the
found
work.
Another snap there? Or is that a Jace?
I think it's a Jace, yeah.
Oh.
And Tang is in a position now where he gets to slow roll a bunch of stuff. There's no need for him to go all in on a big spell, and he does have them if he ends up being pushed in a position where he needs to really land something.
Yeah.
So here we have the Jide, and there's a decision point here whether or not he needs to pay for the Spell Pierce or keep up the Battle Skull mana. And he's taking the opportunity to get that through a Stifle again.
Yeah.
Just get that big lifelinker on board, and here's the Tombstalker.
And I mean,
with the Jace in hand, it's not looking good. But I think Stamopoulos is in a position where he has to go for it.
Look, he can't wait. He can't wait.
He can't wait anymore now.
Get further and further behind, and I mean, this can just basically bounce the Tombstalker.
So he's going to pay for the days, and it's going to get Spell Pierced.
Oh,
there we go.
Okay, so
that Tombstalker's live right now. He's got a second Jace in hand. There we go.
How many Jaces is he playing? Like, normally Jaces are
Let me look at the deck list for you. He's playing 3 here.
Whoa. I mean, like, greedy, but I like it.
Yeah, I mean, when you decide what you want to do, you want to do it a lot sometimes, I guess.
I know Tang loves Jace. I know it's just like one of his favourite win cons. He loves playing a Dirtlefest and then just ticking up Jaces. There we go.
We're similarly minded in that way. And yeah, that third Jace is enough to seal the game.
Whoa. I can't imagine how Steve must have felt when that third Jace just dropped. He must have just been sitting there going, what the hell, man?
Really? Another one?
Yeah.
Really? So what do you think about... I think there was a pretty big decision point at the start of that game where the first... I believe it was a Ponder was counted. How do we feel with how that game played out? Do you reckon that was the right call, or what do you think?
I reckon that was, and yeah, look, Tang obviously got the sole read on Steve, needing a second land drop, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's not the worst call in the world, like burning Fluster early on, like, especially because Fluster's not the most live card against Delver in general, right? They're still playing creatures, they're still playing other interactions. Got to take them off their maybe lightning.
They do have a lot of, like, their mana curve is incredibly low, right? So the Fluster Storm turns off relatively quickly. So I do like it there in terms of if he does have the land, the Fluster Storm's not great anyway. Yeah. So you might as well cast it there and get a card for it as early as you can. And I think in that Stoneblade deck, I think because you're playing so many bombs, so many mana-intensive cards, being able to trade 1-for-1 in the early game is not a bad deal.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. And it's definitely worked out really well.
Yeah. I reckon that, it's possible that Tang was thinking maybe he's 40% not going to have a land here, and if he doesn't, it's really good. And otherwise, this Fluster Storm sucks. So I think with the way that played out, I think that it was a good call.
Yeah, no, look, absolutely. While it surprised me, it's retrospectively, absolutely. Like, what do you reckon they're going to?
I mean, it's interesting. So they've got some just for you guys at home, they've got some interaction for the graveyard in both. Well, as you always do in Legacy, for sure. I believe that Tang's going to bring in the. I would be bringing in the surgical extraction here.
I probably wouldn't want the surgical. Surgical's not great against fair decks. It's normally a lot more live against unfair decks.
Right.
So, I mean, what are you surgical out of a Delver?
No, you actually you're 100% correct. It's an answer to Snapcaster's.
It's an answer to Snapcaster, but Steven's dead, right?
Yeah. Yep. Fair enough. So we're kind of looking the other way then. So Tang's more reliant on the graveyard, or we're not really going to interact with it at all. What do you think?
Look, I reckon both of them are trying to get value out of the graveyard. I reckon hard grave hate here. Probably Tang will bring it in to shut off Death Right Shaman. Death Right Shaman is a very value engine.
Okay.
Whereas Snaps just.
So I'll just read out Tang's sideboard for you guys. He's got 1 Containment Priest, 1 Surgical Extraction, 1 Disenchant, 1 Engineered Explosive, 2 Flusterstorm, a Staticaster, which it's got to come in here, right? Just an
not
answer
really.
Delvers.
It doesn't answer Delver particularly well. Once Delver's flipped, it's a bit too late. So yeah,
there we go. And got 3 Pyroblast, 2 Rest in Peace, 1 Supreme Verdict, and 1 Sword of Fire and Ice.
So Sword of Fire and Ice, that's the blue-red protection one. So I'm pretty sure that will come in. Supreme Verdict is a maybe. Just in case he gets too far behind on board. I mean, Tang wants to play the dirtily control deck, so Supreme Verdict might buy him.
I like it here, even as it is a 4-mana answer, but it is even sometimes against these decks, a clean answer is worth 4 mana.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and just basically completely uninteractive as well. Rest in Peace, definitely, and the Pyroblast, and So I'm 50-50 on the Flusterstorms.
Sure. Well, I think under the same logic as that Ponder, you'd think that would be you'd need the cards to cut, and all these cards are pretty good. I think the Pyroblast, of course, the Pyroblasts are coming in against a blue deck. That's what they're there
absolutely.
for.
I mean, also just deals with Delver efficiently, lets him win his counter war, lets him trade really favourably with Force of Will if it ever gets fired off. If Steve hasn't in fact cut it, which he may have.
Yep. Yeah. I mean that is an angle. Yeah. That often comes into effect. It's a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
And you 2-for-1 yourself every time you cast it. So it depends. I think that if I was Demopolis, I'd probably leave Force in just because I saw 3 Jaces. It's so many Jaces. So
it's a tough one.
It's a tough one. Yeah, it's not something you want to do, but maybe you're in a position that you actually just have to.
Yeah.
That you just you're priced into it because he's got so many bombs, and you need to answer them.
It probably kind of depends a little bit on what he wants to bring in as well. So Steve, on the flip side, doesn't... Okay, so he's got 2 Pyroblasts, so they can come in fairly easily. K-Command, that's going to be a beating if he ever resolves that. Take care of the Batterskull, take care of the Stoneforge.
100%. Clean 2-for-1, and in many different modes, a clean 2-for-1 as well.
Yeah.
He's only got a single one of those, and he's got some Thoughtseizers as well.
Thoughtseize possibly okay. A good answer once the Stoneforge has chewed up the piece of equipment. You can take the equipment before it ever hits the table.
And it's a 1-mana answer to an expensive spell.
Yeah.
That's going to take over the game. I like Thoughtseizes a lot, I'm a big Thoughtseize guy, so...
I mean, I hate it, but it's usually used against me, so... that's
how you know something's good, I guess, sometimes. So we have a couple of Ponders from Samopolis to start off here.
And Tang noticeably sitting on the Spell Pierce, I think it is, in his hand this time.
He certainly had a look at it just then. Bit of a tell, bit of a tell.
I mean, it's not a bad thing as well. It will make Steve play a little bit more cautiously. So that Brainstorm in his hand, for instance, is going to be a little bit more hesitant about firing off.
Okay, Tang's brought in the Sword of Fire and Ice that we just see there. He's drawn it for the turn. Clearly, I have no idea how these guys are going to sideboard. So
it's all right. Nor do I, man.
We'll see it play out over the game. I guess.
Guessing wildly.
Yeah. So Tang's definitely left Snapcasters in. He's got one in hand right now.
I mean, look, even if he's bringing in Rest in Peace, he's keeping in Snapcaster, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's just worth it if you don't see it.
Yeah, and I mean, the worst comes to worst, it's a Ambush Viper.
Ambush Viper. Oh, man, I love that card. This is how you know I play a lot of Limited.
Yeah.
Ambush Viper's my guy.
And there we go. See, now he's firing off that Spell Pierce. So.
Yeah, more important to counter the Brainstorm here. He's also doing it with reasonable timing. He's going to be able to untap his mana here, and he kind of seems like Here we go.
Yeah, okay.
So able to catch the Brainstorm there. He doesn't really take him off resolving his threat, but at the same time, he uses his mana efficiently and he actually gets something out of his hand.
Yeah, and I mean, look...
With so many expensive cards, I think that's really important for him in these games.
Okay. So Steve's currently looking pretty good here. Like, having a Deathrite on the table is just...
I mean, it's amazing. The card is just insanity.
The card is just brutal.
I really, when it got printed, everyone thought it was insane. They were right. And I think people expected it to get worse at some point. It just never
unfortunately,
did.
we were just wrong.
Affectionately known as a one-mana planeswalker to some people.
Yeah, I've described it as that myself. I think that's a very fair description of...
of a very unfair card.
Yeah.
Okay, so we see this Brainstorm here with the shuffle effect on board. This is a really good way to filter and get ahead and try and protect his threat. Also, really craft his hand the way he needs to win this game.
I mean, it also looks like Steve got the perfect Brainstorm there, where he literally just shuffled away 2 lands. I mean, look, a lot of the blue decks in Legacy are really good at finding land drips when they need to and being really hyper efficient. Part of why Chalice is such a beating in the format, but it also means that they get to make the most of the Brainstorm. They get to operate on really, really low resources here. So
absolutely. I think Tang had a really interesting end step there as well. Chose not to crack his fetch because he didn't have the way to answer a Stifle.
Yeah.
Stemopoulos had one as well, so that was a really good play for him. But he ended up just because he hadn't cracked that land yet, he ended up wasting all 3 mana for the turn, and he's sitting there with the Vendilion Clique in hand. Which would have been fantastic.
I think this is actually okay. So Tang can actually afford to play draw go for a while. I mean, he's going to stabilize a bit later on in the game. He just wants to make land drops at the moment and eventually build towards stabilize. If he stabilizes at like 5 life, that's fine.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
Totally capable of coming back from that as well, right?
Yeah.
And we saw him stabilize on 8 last game.
Yeah, and then you just saw him basically just drop bomb after bomb. And he's, he probably would like to stabilize a little bit higher, make himself a bit more resilient.
Not be priced into interacting as much.
Exactly.
Okay, so here we have Deathrite making an extra mana, and the True Nemesis is coming down. Big decision point here for Tang. What does he do here? What does it look like?
He's going to fire off a Brainstorm.
Brainstorm, not too bad.
And he's probably hoping for, I guess maybe like a Spell Pierce or something would be Spell Pierce and a Red Blast or something.
Can't be bad. Yeah, Red Blast.
Well, he can't cast Counterspell at the moment.
Well, he'd have to fetch, which will generate a fight over a Stifle. Of course, which he'll lose.
Yeah,
given his hand there,
and I mean that's the problem we have at the moment, right? So if he fetches, there we go. There's the Stifle.
Yeah, and his effect, that Stifle's a really good one because it's left a couple of duds on the top of Tang's deck as well.
I mean, it's okay. He's actually got the Ponder in hand, so he's going to get to draw a card and shuffle that away.
Yeah.
I mean, Snap's fine.
Snap's not too bad here, right?
No, Snap is a reasonable card pretty much at all parts of the game.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Okay, so he didn't like what he saw there. What did he see? A Batterskull and 2 lands, I think it was. So.
Yeah, I think whatever that third card was with those 2 lands, he kind of has to shuffle.
Yeah, given he has no other way to get rid of it, and he really doesn't want to draw the Batterskull naturally, he wants to tutor that up.
He wants to tutor the Batterskull as well, and he can't answer the board as it is. So,
yeah, he's got to find actual.
Oh, there's an engineered explosives. That's not too bad. Unfortunately, his other land is just a basic plains.
Yeah, so he's getting a bit constrained on blue mana, which is going to be a problem for him.
Yes, yeah, for sure. He can't cast his Clique here, but then we...
Oh, so he was deciding whether or not to snap, so he's just showing off the fact that he's got that sitting in hand.
All right.
Okay, so that's why he was about to fire it off and then realised he didn't have the second blue land.
Yep.
Okay.
So a bit of a misplay there. I think he might have put back the wrong land when he brainstormed.
Possibly. I didn't see what the other land was. I wasn't paying enough
I thought it was a flooded strand.
Okay, and there we go. Now he's got.
So he was playing around the Stifle, but unfortunately he's left himself constrained on blue mana as a result of that. Here's the Volk off the top, which is pretty good for him here, I think.
And a Stoneforge as well. So
also
he's actually going to get to brainstorm away Okay, so
looks like the explosives is going away there, or is that going to be the draw for the turn?
The explosives is going to be the draw for the turn, I think.
Okay, yep. Okay, so we have some reshuffling of our brainstorm here. Some serious decisions happening for Tang on this turn.
So I think, okay, so he's keeping the EE.
Okay, yeah, kept the engine explosive, topped his Snapcaster Mage, and drew it for the turn. We'll probably see the Stoneforge here.
I would fire off the EE first. I think that's your number one objective at the moment is to get all the 1-drops off the board.
Sure.
You can trade, you can trade your 1 EE for 2 cards there.
It's pretty sweet. 2 for 1 there. He can do just both.
Okay.
So he's trying to answer the true name.
And I can't remember the text on EE. I think it's X. Is it only equal to X?
Equal to X.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So every 3 converted mana cost permanent.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's found a way to get rid of the true name there. True name's protection doesn't work against global effects like Supreme Verdict, Engineered Explosive, things like that. So whilst it still can't be targeted, anything that happens to destroy
just converted
mana cost guy. And noticeably not cracking it there on Stamopoulos' turn, again playing around Stifle.
Yeah, so he wants to draw the counter spell that I think he dropped there. Oh, no, wait, it was the Stoneforge. So he's going to...
Okay,
he's got the counter spell in hand if needs be.
Yep. Here's a Snapcaster Mage, which will most likely be getting back the Stifle here.
I would probably counter spell here, I think.
I think counter spell here is much better than countering on the target.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's resolving. So targeting the Stifle here.
So Steve's got to tap for the Stifle.
Okay, so the trigger on the Stifle's being targeted by the Snapcaster right now.
Yeah.
And Tang's making some decisions here. I think that the way that Tang has been playing this game really shows that he's really, really wary of Stifles.
Yeah.
Coming from Stamopoulos' deck. If you're a Stamopoulos, would this affect how you play in the future?
I mean, if he's playing around Stifle that much, yeah, I'd be probably aggressively bluffing it at all times.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems.
If I was
correct at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and he's going to.
Here's the Stifle, courtesy of some Deathrite mana. So here's a decision point. Yeah.
I mean, Tang surely has to counter that.
No, he's going to let it resolve. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so
there we go.
Okay. So the effect's still on the stack. The explosives is in the graveyard as paying the cost, and it looks like the trigger has been countered.
Okay.
All right. So.
Okay, and I think Steve has forgotten to exile the Stifle.
Yeah. All right. That's okay. I'm sure someone will catch him for that. Here we go.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, look, it's easy enough to make little mistakes. We're not judging him here. It's
just commentating.
Yeah. Okay, so I imagine the play from here, that bolt probably has to be fired off soon.
Yeah. So I imagine what this is an evaluation, which is that the Stoneforge Mystic is really important to resolve this turn because you need to race that True Name Nemesis.
Yeah.
And not only that, but a Lightning Bolt answers exactly as much power on the board. By killing the Delver of Secrets this turn, which doesn't interact with the Batterskull in any way. So he can stabilize against the Snapcaster and the True Name on board by having a Batterskull in play, and he can answer one of the 2/3 power uninteractive creatures with a Lightning Bolt anyway.
So the problem here is because he didn't clear the True Name and he didn't counter the Snap, he's now actually facing lethal.
Okay, yeah.
There we go.
All right.
So...
All right. Well, his line made sense, but ultimately, your lap total does matter a little bit.
It does. It was probably just a little bit greedy, and he was hoping a bit too much to be able to stabilize. But he might have done him good to just pay a bit more attention to how much power is being put on the board.
Yeah, I would call it a minor line misplay. It's not a misplay. He picked the wrong line there and got caught out for it. But I think Stamopoulos made a really good play there. I think that was. Oh
no, absolutely.
It was a very good game for him. Yep. And just managed to roll out threat turn after turn after turn, really up the pressure at the same time as, getting his disruption and getting his 1-for-1s.
And he was, basically, normally we'd expect Tank to be able to kind of playing slow, hold deck. A lot of draw, go, just take your time, be patient. Unfortunately, it worked for him game 1. They really hit what he needed to game 2, and coupled with like 1 or 2 tiny little errors there, just let the Delver player get so far ahead.
Yeah, I think the main thing that happened there was that the Delver player, Stamopoulos, was able to manage his mana way better than the Stoneblade player, which is it's sort of the strength and weakness of both decks. At the same time, that should be, I think, considered into the lines the whole game through when you're playing Stoneblade, is that, hey, you're not a mana efficient deck. You need to kind of work to use your mana every turn a little bit more.
Look, like I said, I'm not even convinced of that. I think like you're able to early game hold up mana, like just be reactive, play reactively.
Sure.
Just remember to get your threats online once you've built your mana properly. So the early games are about just making mana, like get up to 4 lands, 5 lands, and then try to push ahead. Or this is my fear.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's fantastic about Legacy and these brainstorm decks is that there's literally so many options. Like, there's just so many options that.
See lots of cards. Right?
Absolutely. So many choices that could have been made, So, yeah, fantastic. And I don't know. We'll have to play it out sometime. So, going into game 3. Do you have a favorite coming into game 3 for this matchup?
I'm going to be honest, I will favourite Tang here. I think the deck that's really heavy on basics, so basically switches off Wasteland, can efficiently answer... I think he maybe should have fetched there, or just to play around so maybe he's not particularly scared of the Stifle.
Yeah, I think with the second land in hand, he can kind of afford this, and he gets to waste his opponent's mana for the turn as well.
So maybe what he's hoping to do here is do something like fetch, wait for the Stifle in response to the Stifle Red Blast.
It seems like Tang is happy to give that whole turn of wasted mana to both players, and then force something to happen when he needs to actually get cards out of his hand.
Yeah.
So he's on 7 cards right now, so he's going to be forced into action this turn, but that's okay.
I mean. Maybe I wonder if maybe he should have fired off the Red Blast in response to the Brainstorm there. I think
maybe
he's holding it. I wonder if he's holding it too aggressively as an answer to a Delver or a True Name instead of just trying to take.
Again, we see the consciousness of the Stifle here as well. That these fetches are not getting cracked.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. So here's the Scalding Tarn getting cracked on Stamopoulos' side, and that gives Tang a window to have a mana advantage. So Stamopoulos only has 1 mana up at this point.
Yeah.
Can't use his second land. So this is a decision point. Does he crack his lands right now? And
so there we go.
What are we getting? Yeah. So here's the Flooded Strand, and are we going to go get a basic?
I feel like he kind of almost needs a Volk here.
He's stuck on these 2 lands at the moment.
So maybe a basic. This is a tough one. So he needs 1 basic and probably 1 jewel.
Yeah, he does need a white. He does need a white source given his hand.
There we go. So he's got the Volk.
Yeah, it kind of seems like he'll probably grab 2 non-basics at this point.
Yeah, and just basically not play around Wasteland for a little while. I mean, look, playing around.
Unfortunately for him, Stamopoulos does have 1 in hand. But
I thought he just shuffled that away with his Brainstorm. Did he shuffle that away? Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, there it is. You were correct. Sorry.
Okay, and here we have a Deathrite Shaman. It's such an advantage to have so many threats on 1 mana.
I think, look, also Steve is now just so far ahead on mana that it's...
Yeah, I think this Deathrite really does need to be answered.
Yes.
So we might see a counterspell here.
And I do like the fact that Tang's not playing around Wasteland too aggressively. He's just trying to build his mana.
Yeah, I think he's kind of forced into it at this point, right?
Well, I also just tend to think, I don't know. I've started to form the opinion that playing around Wasteland too much loses you games.
100%. Well, that's one of the things about playing around Stifle, playing around Wasteland, is that you do lose percentages in situations because you're overly conscious of it, and it's very hard to play it exactly correct.
Absolutely, and it's...
Having a read on your opponent is pretty important.
Yeah.
And, thankfully, us in the booth,
we get to see their hands.
Yeah. And here's the Wasteland.
Okay, so what is...
imagine Tang just floats mana there.
Okay, and then the Red Blast is going to come down.
On the true name.
So
yeah, a little fist bump there. Very happy to see the end of that guy.
Unfortunately now Steve's...
After that second game, I'm not surprised either. Yeah. It was a real pain.
Look, everybody loves to hate True Name. The card's just, it's absolutely awful to play against. It's
Yeah. Unfortunately for Tang here, he's got a Flusterstorm and a Lightning Bolt, but everything else in his hand is a 2 or 3 mana card. So he's not actually able to cast many things. Yeah, so his counterspell cannot counter this Tombstalker and can't answer it with anything else.
No, I think he's just basically, because he's missed so many land drops, I think he's just miles behind by now, unfortunately. And I feel like he's not coming back.
Here we go. Here's an island off the top.
It's an island off the top, but I feel like it's a little bit too late. Like he's got, if you see what's caught in his hand, he's got his own True Name, which he can't cast. He's got a Stoneforge, which he can't cast. He's got a bunch of counter spells, which do nothing.
He absolutely needs to hit another land so he can swords this Tombstalker, and that's really the fight he's going to have to get over in this game at some point.
I think so. And I mean, look, that Bolt looks okay. If Steve lands another threat, but
he's not gonna do much there except for yeah, that's good. You know, that's one of the things we need to happen if you're Tang.
But I think he now actually needs to aggressively play his Stoneforge Mystic. Otherwise, he's not going to get ahead.
Needs to use his mana every turn, try and draw some answers. Stoneforge is a great one because it can actually brace that Tombstalker.
Yeah.
4 life gained every turn from the Batterskull is.
It's going to help him stabilize. It'll give him a bit of breathing space as much as anything else.
Absolutely, so. And he can fight over it with that Flusterstorm as well. So,
in fact, I think he can go Stoneforge this turn with a Flusterstorm. Tang's got a really bad habit of revealing his hand a little bit when he plays. He kind of tilts it out too much. So
we see some good sportsmanship there. Yeah. It's the right thing to do in those occasions.
Oh, absolutely. We do try to stop him from doing that when we think about it, but it's
100%. Just so everyone knows, I would have looked.
Yeah, I would have. You would have seen something, and you would have just felt really bad. But yeah.
Okay, so we have a Stifle on, I believe, the Scalding Tarn trigger here, and a straight counterspell. Unfortunately, here is a Pyroblast from Stemopolis, and that's it. It's gone.
I think that's probably that Stifle's going to be game.
That looks like it's probably game.
There's.
Most likely, it's not a good spot to be in. All right, here's the top deck. He really needs a Tundra from the top.
If he does it to Plowshares. Okay.
Oh, that's really salt in the wound, isn't it?
It's
that Wasteland hitting his only white source.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's basically he's too.
And here's a Bolt for lethal. Here's a Flusterstorm, but he's got another one. There we go.
That's tough times.
GG, well played, boys. Okay, so Stemopolis takes this 2 games to 1.
There we go. His island was just there. He could have maybe landed a... and it could have landed a True Name. But anyway, I don't think it would have done anything. So,
welcome back to the booth, guys. Yeah, what do you reckon? Good games.
Good games. It was a bit sad to watch just... I guess somebody just get horrible mana screw. We've all had it. It feels horrible.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the strengths of those Delver decks is they do a lot of work to make that happen. We saw a Stifle on a Scalding Tarn, and we saw a Wasteland on a Tundra there. So his lack of mana wasn't without assistance, let's say.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's the Delver game plan, right? Just keep them off their lands, keep your efficient threats just landing. Obviously, Steve's got some slightly less efficient ones, but he's attacking his mana base enough to buy him the time to be able to land those, which is what's really swinging that.
Absolutely. So. And 2 classic decks there as well, 2 staples of the Legacy format for a long time. I think that Stoneblade deck's been around since Stoneblade was in Standard, and that Tombstalker Delver deck has been around since Delver's been in the format.
And it's nice to see just Tombstalker over Go-Mag Angler seeing some play. Tombstalker is just it's a cool card.
It is an absolute classic. It does have black in the cost, and that can be a problem sometimes over your anglers and.
It's just a beautiful future sight kind of weird.
Amazing.
Yeah, I do love those cards. I do love that.
Future border, absolutely great. Absolutely great.
Anyway, so look, we'll leave it there for this round, and we'll see you again for round 3. It'll be so.
All right.
All right.
See you then.